Mario 64 speedruns are weird. And no, not just because the game is weird, it is, but because the way that we play it is different. You look around at any other speedrunning community like Super Mario Sunshine or Ocarina of Time, and you will find that they tend to play the fastest version available. Even back in the day when Narcissa was going for the any % world record in Ocarina of Time, an extremely difficult to obtain console was the fastest version that the game ran on at the time, and the community was perfectly fine with it. This was, of course, the IQ, aka the Chinese N64, and as you can see, the prices and the rarity of it on eBay, kind of ridiculous. But anyway, I'm not here to shit on OOT, as much as I'd love to. What's weird about Super Mario 64? Well, looking at the leaderboard, you notice all the top players run on Nintendo 64. Now, obviously, there are very good players that you will find on the Wii version of the game, people that play on emulator on PC, but the top of the top players, the people setting world records in the game, are using N64. If you don't know already, the N64 is the slowest version of the game, by a lot. In 120 star, you can save nearly 2 minutes by playing on a Wii, and you can save about a minute by playing on PC emulator. So surely, there must be a reason why these runners are intentionally going slower. Because of the way Mario 64 speedrunners do things, there has been some drama in the past, which I will cover because it's a funny story and I think it's worth talking about, but we'll get to that. Now, before I get into exactly why this is the case, let's just do a quick run through of the different versions that are available to speedrun Mario 64. You have, on N64, the Japanese version of the game, the English version of the game. You have the European PAL version of the game, which is complete dog shit. Runs at 25 frames per second. It is literally a meme category to run it. You might think I'm kidding, or you might think I'm like exaggerating, but this version of the game is literally ass. I feel so bad for the European kids who had to play this. The 70-star world record holder, D whatever, can do 70-star in 47 minutes. And he got the world record on the PAL version. Guess what time it was? Barely a sub 1 hour. He got a 59:58. 12 minutes lost. It's literally in slow motion. It's a joke. But anyway, you know, back on topic. You have the updated Japanese Shindu version of the game, which patches BLJs, has really weird pole grabs that make me uncomfortable, and slower load times. Beyond that, looking at the emulators, you have the Wii Virtual Console, you have the Wii U, you have the Switch, and you have, obviously, PC emulator, you know, Project 64, etc., etc. Now, no one really cares about the Wii U because, Jesus Christ, that thing is a piece of shit. Can we all agree? The Wii U, imagine having to run on a Wii U. Who even has one anymore?
What?
The Switch version. I played it. I made a video on it. That was the only reason that I played it. It was terrible. It has the Shindu version. BLJs are patched. It was a clickbait video, and that was it. It feels like shit. Somehow, the Switch is slower at loading than the Wii. I don't know how. I don't know why. But it is. So that kind of just leaves us with the PC emulator and the Wii Virtual Console emulator. And like I said earlier, the Wii is very fast. It saves nearly 2 minutes in 120 star and saves a very noticeable amount of time in the other categories. So why not just use the Virtual Console Wii version for SM64 speedruns? I mean, I could boot it up right now and get a world record for free. Save 3 minutes? I could make so many mistakes and still beat the world record. But I won't. You see, back in the day, you know, when I was just a wee lad playing League of Legends and I didn't even know what Mario 64 speedrunning was, Japanese players were running shit. They were popping off. They had mostly been at the top of the leaderboards. And back in the day, it was pretty difficult for Japanese runners to get their hands on an English Wii, because the Japanese version of the game on Wii was the Shindu version. So no Japanese players were going to play a Mario 64 speedrun with BLJs patched. They're just not going to do that. So they used N64. Western runners, however, had it very easy. Most people had a Wii on their hands. All you needed to get was the Wii shop, download Mario 64, and you could start speedrunning it. And you would be on the English version of the game on Wii, which doesn't have BLJs patched. So most Western runners use this. Eventually, out of those Western runners, Siglemic, a name that you may have heard, you may have not. He's the reason that I even play this game. He rose to the top of the leaderboards of 70 star and 120 star and realized that the Wii was much faster than the Japanese N64 version. And so, in order to compete on even ground and really see how good he is at the game, he switched to N64. Now, huge shout outs to Gothic Logic for giving me this information. About 11 years ago, in a YouTube comment section of Honey was one of the best Japanese players at the time, and Siglemic commented, "I like it. please do more 120? To which Honey replied, I want to, but on N64, it is too difficult to beat you. And Siglemic replied, yes. VC is unfair to the Japanese players. I will play N64 Japanese now. Isn't that just a wholesome moment? Doesn't that just butter up your biscuit and make you want to cry all over it? Doesn't it make you just want to cry? Tears of joy. God, it's so wholesome. A lot of the rest of the community followed suit, and most runners who were able to get a world record would be on N64. It didn't really seem worth it. Obviously, you had to buy the N64, buy the capture card, etc., etc. So for some people, they would stay on emulator. Me, for example, I started on emulator. I played on it for over a year before switching to N64. My very first paycheck I got from my first real job, lifeguarding, I blew it on an N64, and I never looked back. And it kind of just became... It kind of became the thing. People were on N64 because the better players were on N64. Now, aside from being a slower version of the game, the N64 does have some differences that put it above the Wii version of the game. On the Wii, you can sometimes experience lag. This isn't lag from the game running, it's just Wii lag. It just happens. Sometimes the game just freezes. It's really stupid, but it does happen, and it can kill runs. It also does not take inputs in as precisely as the N64 does. The dead zone is worse on the Wii, and because there's no lag, because the Wii is so bussin', there's no lag reduction. And that breaks my heart. I made a whole video dedicated to lag reduction. I've made multiple videos talking about lag reductions in N64. Also, it's washed out as shit. I mean, look at the HUD. The HUD looks bad. The colors, bad. The Wii shop isn't even open anymore. If you want to play on the English Wii version of the game, you need to homebrew your Wii, which isn't a big deal, and there's plenty of communities who are perfectly willing to do this as a standard, but it's just kind of a pain. Another part that people don't talk about as much, which influenced Japanese players to play on N64, is from the years 2009 to 2011, a lot of Japanese players actually did play on emulator. It was the most common version that people played on. However, there was a huge problem with cheating going on during this era. The community has looked back on some runs set in 2009 to 2011, and we know now that nearly 40 top-level emulator runs in that time frame were either cheated or under heavy justified suspicion. And so this also caused a big push for Japanese players to move to N64, where although you can still cheat, you can still splice, it's quite a bit harder to do. But the biggest thing at this point, you know, fast forward to now, we are in 2022. Easy access to Wii's or PC emulators, especially in Japan. Why aren't we using it? Why are runners still playing on the slowest version? Well, I think the biggest thing is it's kind of just been tradition. It's weird to forget all of this work that's been done on the N64 version of the game. And the only thing I can think of to compare it to is in Super Smash Bros. Melee, there's a technique called L canceling. Some people think L canceling's stupid and dumb, probably because they can't do it. Other people very much enjoy L canceling. I am an L canceling enjoyer, personally, because it adds depth to the game. It gives you more chances to fuck up. There's things like that in games that I don't like, but in the case of L canceling, in the case of lag reductions, I think it is a technique and a skill that is just as important as anything else in the game, and it sets other runners apart from other runners. It's a way for you to gain an advantage over other runners if you're willing to put the work in. That does not exist on Wii, that does not exist on Emulate. All that aside, the fact that even nowadays you can use advanced practice ROMs on an N64 console, I don't think it'll ever change. I think, you know, personally it just feels good to play on the original hardware. No knock at anyone that doesn't. I think it's, you know, it's actually a good direction for the community. Because when I first came into Mario, it was kind of toxic. There was elitism. People would kind of bully people for playing on Wii or playing on emulator. And I think nowadays, the community's more accepting. There's great players on all platforms. However, whenever a player starts to approach that territory towards being capable of a world record, they just make the switch. Even though they could potentially just take the world record with a different version, most runners don't do this. This did happen at one point, though. So get your popcorn ready, get your chips out, get your tits out. Back in August of 2013, there was a very good speedrunner named Hyacinth who speedran on the Wii Virtual Console version of the game. I don't think he really was trying to start anything. I think he just wanted to play on the Wii Virtual Console version of the game. And again, like I said, there was elitism back in the time, so he definitely, you know, people did shit on him for continuing to play on Wii VC even though he was capable of beating the actual world record at the time, which was a 144.01 by Siglemic. He finally beat it. He got the first 143 in 120 star ever, and it was on Wii. A lot of people were upset. People were mad because this wasn't the real world record. It was on Wii. Didn't people know he was saving 3 minutes? This was more like a 146 on N64. And Siglemic actually had a Wii still set up because he used to run on the Wii version of the game. Hyacinth got this 143.37 on August 18th, 2013. Can you guess what happened on August 19th of 2013? That day, Siglemic became petty. Siglemic made an alternate account called Based Earn God 333221. Now, if you don't know about the dank memes back then, the only real meme that I can remember from back then is Tet Earn, which just saying it makes me cringe. But just to give you context, Based Earn God basically just means based. I mean, I don't know why I'm explaining this. It doesn't fucking matter. Either way, he made this silly name account with this cool timer layout, inverted colors on his SM64, playing music the entire time, and he beat the world record that Hyacinth had set the next day with a 143.22. Nowadays on speedrun.com, all of the leaderboards are separated, and so you would have virtual console world record, emulator world record, and N64 world record. However, back in the day, it was all on one leaderboard, so that's kind of why this happened. And this was the last time that this happened. I don't think this ever happened again because it was just kind of funny, kind of silly, and I think runners realized that, okay, if you want to get a world record, you're gonna probably have to get it on N64. And if you get it on Wii, then whoever has it on N64 is probably gonna come clap your ass shortly after. So basically, we play the slowest version because it's harder. Now that I say that out loud, it makes like even less sense, but yes. We are intentionally making things harder for ourselves because it's fun. And the game is good and fun and fair. Remember that, always. Bye.